Chantel Baker.
Present.
Kim Claypool.
Present.
Debbie Bartram.
Present.
And Angie Smith.
Present.
Because this is our annual reorganization meeting, we will have our community comments a little earlier in the meeting than we normally would because there aren't regular decisions to make in these meetings. But are there any members of the community that have comment for the board this evening? Going once, going twice, hearing none, we will continue on to the election of officers. Is there a slate of officers, or are you going one at a time?
Do we want to go one at a time, or do we want to do all of this slate? I pretty much thought we had a slate. Really know. Yeah, so I think one of you just have to.
One of you needs to nominate the slate, yeah.
Second. Each individual person. I'll make a motion to nominate Chantel Baker as president, Kim Claypool as vice president, and Van Dyne as secretary.
Yeah, it's secretary, right? Yep.
I'll second. Motion made by Ms. Bartram for Chantel Baker to be president, Kim Claypool to be vice president, and Van Dyne to continue as secretary. Seconded by Ms. Smith. All in favor? Motion passed 5-0.
Congratulations on continuing your offices. I'm so sorry. The swearing in should have been first. I apologize. We'll fix that right now, but unfortunately it's a 4-0 vote for that vote.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's on me.
But can she second?
Oh, she can't second either, so we'll have to.
We'll have to read the last one.
Motion to table until we swear in.
Great. Let's do that. Let's do
I thought
that.
maybe I missed it.
Sorry. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna get my camera ready so that we can do the administration of the oath. And you, I'm gonna have her stand by the seal, if that's okay with you. And then,
She has it. She's just going to read her oath. And you'll both raise your right hands, and then following the reading of the oath, she'll sign and you'll notarize.
Okay, so I don't have to say.
okay. All right. Well, let me get my video.
I affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of Indiana, and the laws of the United States and the State of Indiana. I will faithfully execute the duties of my office as a member of this governing body, so help me God. I affirm under the penalties for perjury that the above representations are true.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
All right.
Waiting for like an ID or something.
I know.
Yeah, go ahead. You can, if you don't mind, you can do it. Now you're an official member of the board, Angie. You guys can proceed.
Do I need to make the motion again?
Yes, please.
Okay, I make the motion to nominate, thank you, Chantel Baker as president, Kim Claypool as vice president, and Van Dyne as secretary. I second. Motion made by Ms. Bartram to nominate Chantel Baker as president, Kim Claypool as vice president, Dan Van Dyne as secretary, seconded by Ms. Smith. All in favor? Pass 5-0.
Thanks, guys. Under new business, you have the draft meetings for the calendar year 2025. Our first official meeting would be January 22nd, and then it is typically the third Friday of the month, except for third, I meant the third Wednesday of the month. So that is the schedule that I presented here. I sent it to the board and the board elect members ahead of time. Is there any discussion or concerns about this draft?
I will just, no. I will let everybody know that, it will be hard for me to do 5:30 executive sessions after March 1st. On Wednesdays.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's just if you really, really, really like having those right before those meetings, I can't do that. I think.
You can do them after the meetings too.
Yeah.
It's always hard for me too.
Okay.
I just want to throw that up. I'm gonna have to be traveling for Mindy.
Okay.
So.
Well, the first time I go to do it, just remind me, because it is kind of a habit. But Alyssa will help keep me on track, and we'll make sure to move those to either after the board meeting. Is that all nights of the week?
No, just Wednesdays.
Just Wednesdays? Okay. So, but it is 5:30 stuff for you. Meeting night,
Well, it's
correct?
Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but all my dates are Wednesdays. So.
I can, if I can plan ahead, I can usually make it work.
Okay.
Not always, but usually.
Okay. But if we move it to another night of the week and we make it a 6, I think that's fine for both of you, right? Okay. Let's keep that in mind. I hope we don't need any, but we have some that we'll have to have, like for my evaluation, those sort of things.
I make a motion to approve the board meeting dates for 2025.
I'll second.
Motion made by Ms. Claypool to approve the meeting dates for 2025, seconded by Ms. Bartram. All in favor? Aye.
Excellent. Alyssa, we make a note, we have to send those to the paper. They sent us the legal request for them, so let's make sure we send those to the paper.
Board meeting dates to paper.
Yes, please.
And will you send those out to the like staff
Yeah.
also?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, just retouching on that, did we, re-vote to elect the board? I was just in La La Land.
Yep.
Thanks.
Twice.
I apologize. I think I was notarizing the document.
Yes.
That's great. They did do that. Exactly like the first time.
I apologize.
No, you don't have to apologize. It's my fault. Every year, the board is required to appoint their attorney for that new year in January. I would ask the board to consider continuing with AJ Sickman as our attorney. And you appoint the attorney, not the firm, is the way we've always done it. So,
Yeah, the contract is technically with the firm, with me as the primary counsel, but we do it that way so that if I'm unavailable for whatever reason, there's an obligation for one of my partners to fill in and help out. But yeah, you would be appointing me this evening.
Motion to appoint AJ Sigmund as our secretary. Or, sorry. On trade jobs? Sorry, I'm confident, she's not that confident. Yeah, right.
I second. Motion made by Mr. Van Dyne to continue with Mr. AJ Sickman as the school attorney, seconded by Ms. Claypool. All in favor?
At the same meeting, it is required for the board to appoint the school district's treasurer for the year. Mrs. Tricia Thomas has been our treasurer for 6 years now. I would ask the board to consider her in her post.
I make a motion to keep Tricia as treasurer.
I'll second.
Motion made by Ms. Smith to appoint and continue with Tricia Thomas as our treasurer for school district, seconded by Ms. Bartram. All in favor?
I don't think we have any other items for this new business, so that is.
So there's nothing for others.
No, there's that.
Any board comments? Congratulations, Angie. Thank you. Welcome to the school board. good. A lot of good stuff happens here for us. Welcome to 2025. I was at the school last weekend for a couple of the games, and I don't know if you guys have seen the gym. They've done a few things and hung a few things up, but it looks really nice. I mean, what they've done in there is looking really, it's coming together very nicely in there. So if you haven't seen it, make sure you stop in and take a peek. Anybody else have any comments? Employee comments?
Happy 2025. Excited to have you as a member of the board. Angie, thank you very much. And thanks to all of you for the work you do to support the admin team, the teachers, the students, and our community. Because go above and beyond. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I have one more. Tomorrow night is the county attorney, and Dr. Hicks will be racing on a scooter at halftime of our game. So if you have nothing to do, you should come and cheer him on. I got it all put together.
It's
today.
the electric scooters, right?
Well, yes, I thought about getting the pedals out though. If they don't charge, I don't know what to do. So
Got a foot injury, but if they're the electric ones, I'll suffer through.
I did get you a helmet. I got all of you guys helmets. So all the superintendents will be racing against each other. So the first game, I think, is Centerville and Town. So their two superintendents are going to race at halftime. And then the second game, Lincoln and Northeastern are going to race at halftime. And then the winners of each of those races will go for championship Friday night. So they get bragging rights and a trophy. So help promote every day counts. But him and the other superintendents are really fun to work with. So it'll be entertaining. If nobody has anything else, can I get a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Van Dyne to adjourn, seconded by Ms. Bartram. All in favor? We are adjourned. One down.
Next.
Okay, given that we prayed and done the pledge, we start this meeting at the roll call form.
Chantel Baker,
Present.
Kim Claypool, Debbie Bartram, Angie Smith,
Present.
all are present.
And this is the finance board meeting, which is a separate body from the board of trustees. It meets once a year to take care of the business that you are about to dispatch. And you are all simultaneously members of the finance board and the school board. So the first thing that needs to happen are the election of officers. Historically, the officers of the finance board have parodied those of the school board.
So we just do them separately, so I make a motion to elect Chantel Baker as the finance board president.
A second.
Motion made by Ms. Claypool to elect Chantel Baker as the finance board president, seconded by Ms. Bartram. All in favor?
This board does not actually have a vice president, I'm so sorry. So the next office is secretary.
Make a motion to nominate Dan Van Dyne as the finance board secretary. A second.
Motion made by Ms. Bartram to nominate Dan Van Dyne as the finance board secretary, seconded by Ms. Claypool. All in favor? 5-0.
This board also appoints the district's treasurer. Again, Mrs. Thomas has been our treasurer for 6 years, and I've asked the board to consider that.
I make a motion to keep Tricia Thomas as or appoint Tricia Thomas as the treasurer for district.
A second.
Motion made by Ms. Smith to appoint Tricia Thomas as treasurer for the district, seconded by Ms. Bartram. All in favor? 5-0.
It is this body's duty annually to review the interest that we have garnered over the course of the year. And this is a report that's available in board docs, and I apologize for having not printed it out for you. But the numbers at the bottom are what matter most. So this amount, $246,312.70, is the amount of interest that our funds minus our construction funds have accrued for the course of 2024. From January 24 through December of 24, we made almost $250,000 in our accounts for just having our money being in the account. This has helped us to do some projects. This has helped us to cover our salaries in the operations fund. This money goes into the operations fund because that is the fund that is always the tightest. And it's interesting because we just did a balance report that I'll share with you momentarily. And I went to Tricia and I said, this is too much money. This is my 5th year. We've never had this much money in this account. She goes, because you made that much money in interest this year. I go, there it is. Okay, thank you. Because I had a moment of panic. Like, did we miss something? Did we not buy a bus? Like, what happened? But no, we just had a really good year in terms of interest bearing on our account. This other account is our construction account at the bottom. This 170959, that is the first month of the new bond money sitting on our account. We squeaked it in because the bond sold on the 18th. The proceeds of the bond were wired to us on the 20th, and the account was swept on the 31st. So we have a month of interest on that account. All of that money must remain in that account. Every penny of principal and interest in that account have to be spent on the projects that the board voted on for that bond. So it will be separated moving forward. We'll see all of the interest we get from everything else, and we will look at this one individually. And next year, if we have a great year, we'll have about 13,000, 14,000 extra dollars, which in the inflationary market in which we were building is not so bad. So,
What is our interest rate for that top account?
gosh, you do have the best questions. It is a great question. I want to say that it is 5%, but I don't quote me on that. But I think that's because
That's really high.
We-
It's really high.
well,
My money in First Bank.
we considered moving a majority of our funds, not our in and out and checking account balance, away from the bank to put into the trust bank. And we wanted to leave our money in First Bank Richmond because they're a community bank. And we're a community team. We're by local school district. And so we contacted them and explained, like, this is the percentage that we would get, which was better than 5% if we move over here, but it wasn't a lot better. And if you can match this, then we can keep our money with you. And they thought about it and said, we would like you to keep your money with us. So that is why we've done that. What will happen as Prime moves around in 2025, I'm not sure. So I don't know that it will stay there, but it should, and they have not notified us that it will. So it really helps us have money for projects in the operations fund. All of the proceeds of this will be used either in operations for salaries in operation or projects, offset the cost of buses, pay for the broken stuff, whatever. And then in construction, the construction account, it will help us get closer to being able to do all the things we wanted to do with that bond. So should be good. Great question. So that is all of our interest-bearing accounts. And we are to review our interest investment policy, which is from Neola, and it is policy number 6144. And it allows us to consider all of these instruments, and we may also keep them in our sweep account, which is what we do. So we're compliant with our own policy and within the U.S. state law. And they want to make sure every year that we've done it, which is why we review the policy. Any questions about the investment policy review? last but certainly not least is the written report. I put a draft version of this in because I wanted you to have the freshest numbers. But this is our financial condition, mostly according to the state, and I have a little bit of commentary in here just to try and flesh it out a little bit. So we are a 1,260 student district, and there's been a little bit of fluctuation, but people are still making their middle of the year choices. Our net assessed valuation is $6,784, and the estimated population of our school district is 5,888. And I think that sounds high, but I hope they're right. But I don't know if that accounts for, if that's census data or if that's voter log data, because I don't know how they get an accurate count of the Amish community. And so I'm fascinated by this number, how it's derived.
And that's just our district.
That's just our geographic boundary.
Is that high or low compared to that?
I don't know that they have always put this number on here. I think it's new. This used to be one document. And if you go into board docs, the last document has all of the printouts in it. That's how it used to be, but I don't remember this cover slide being part of that. So I'm fascinated by this number. I'm gonna watch it in the years to come because I hope it goes up. So our enrollment is steady today. Many of the school districts in our county have seen a decline, and we have been fortunate to stay at or around 1260 for many years. So that this is our trend up to and through last school year, spring and fall. And if you look at 2021, we had kind of an above average spring of virtual. That was the year after we came back from COVID, and people were still a little nervous and they put their kids in virtual. Now we really only have 1 or 2 kids a year that take their programs virtually, and usually alternative education students. Funds by balance over time. This is a little bit confusing because in 2019, the year before I became superintendent, they changed the way they named the funds. So you have the old fund names at the bottom. For example, we don't have a capitals fund anymore. We don't have a general fund anymore. We now have education and operations. So this chart is very busy because they're trying to represent 2 naming structures for our finances in the state. That being said, our finances as a result of our assessed value and steady student population are in healthy shape because we've been able to maintain these balances in our education fund and operations to a certain extent. I would remind the board that our operations fund is always constricted because that is where all of our circuit breaker tax impact is, and we are constricted on our growth. Our AV grew 13% this year, but our tax collecting ability only grew by 4%. So we didn't get the benefit of the remaining 9%. And that's by statute.
What is the federal fund increase on that? Is that because of the bonds?
So this is 2023 grade I. That is because of the buses. That's the extra $2 million the federal government gave us just that year. Good eye. And it shows up here too. 2023 was a big year for us in terms of federal funds. But we do not spend into deficit. So at least we do not on paper, and we have not in reality. And we have had a surplus of funding from the federal government each of the past few years. And for some reason, they inverted it in 21. I don't know why that looks that way, because we were not in deficit then, but that's the way that it looks. And then I don't understand why this is even presented, but our fund balance as a percentage of expenses has gone up. I don't know that this metric is useful to us through 23. The relationship is seemingly nonsensical because this is in arrears. And so we only spend the amount of money that they give us. And our savings have gone up each of those years. So it's a weird metric. Revenue by type, the biggest uptick is our federal money in 23 for the clean bus initiative. Everything else has been pretty stagnant for the most part. You do see our AD start to impact a little bit more local tax than we've had. But our state revenue has only gone up when the biennium budget has been up. And our local tax rate has brought in this kind of steady $2.1, $2.2 million amount. And moving forward, it's not a ton more. I think we'll levy a little closer to 3, but it won't be much over in 25. Operating referendum review, it's a trick. We don't have one, so it's 0. In our current fund balances as of December 31st, we have $2,839,976 in education. To remind the board, we maintain a certain level of balance so that we can cover payrolls should the state not collect taxes and get them to us in a timely manner. And we also had to transfer money that used to be kept at the building in the curriculum material fund. There was about $600,000 worth of funds that had to come out of the building accounts into central office per state statute. That money was the proceeds of the sale of our iPads the last 2 to 3 times. And so that money is not bargainable by statute, and we need to keep it in reserve if we can, so that the next time we need to refresh devices, which this last time cost almost $1 million, we would be able to afford to do a refresh in 3 to 4 years. So that's the education fund. Debt service fund, our balance was $405,832. That money will go out the door very quickly because our bills are due in January. So that is strictly to pay our bonds that we owe. Operations, like I said, we usually are around $600,000 here, but our interest bearing was excellent this year, and so we're at $879,899, and we maintain a balance of about $1,091,729 in our rainy day fund. So those are our current balances. Do you have any?
Maintain that balance? Did we spend for the HVAC?
So the timing was such that I think we may have spent for 2 invoices, but everything else was able to wait until the proceeds of the bonds came. So I was in here on December 30th, actually ran into AJ. We had a lovely moment where I thought AJ was in Florida. And I went into the law firm and he met me coming out the door. And I was like, I was genuinely surprised because I thought he was out of state. And I said, oh, I would have texted you. I didn't know you were here. But I went to get all those notarized because Leanne was out on break And Alyssa was here working that day, but she didn't have her seal yet. So I wanted to get those things out the door so that we could pay our bills from the issuing of the bond. And we have some early bills from the HVAC contractors that I wanted to go ahead and get signed. And just for your knowledge, the way that that money works is we have $1 million that sits in our account that we can use for construction purposes. It'll be the last $1 million we spend. Everything else, when we get a bill, we will, I'll write out an affidavit that says, this is the vendor to whom we owe money. This is a construction cost. I will have it notarized by Alyssa, and then I send it to Computer Share, which is where our money is housed, and they will pay the bill to the contractor. So it takes a little longer, as AJ is finding out, it takes a little longer to get your money from the bond company than if Trisha just pays the bills. That's the only downside of this process. But we will get to a point, once we're past this, AJ's bill is an atypical one. But once we get to a point where we're just sort of paying Weez and Hunt for this, the $15,000 like hold it in place bill, and whoever wins the bids, it'll be the same contractor over and over again, and it goes faster. Once you have a repeat vendor, they've already taken care of their tax information and the wiring instructions and all that, it just goes a little quicker. So, yeah, that's how it works. Do you have any questions about the written report of the state, the financial state of the school district?
Are we gonna pay those 2 cycles back into rainy day from the bond?
Absolutely. So Tricia was out on medical leave. She is trying to close her year. As soon as that all gets done, we will reconcile those, and then we can be a vendor, ironically. So I did an affidavit for the $1 million. I'll do an affidavit for the reimbursement out of the bond. It goes back to rainy day. And she has those board minutes that authorize her to do that. So that'll be pretty quick. Great question.
Are there any other questions? Many things. Where were we at with the scoreboard? Did that ever, with the insurance company and everything, how did that end up?
Yeah, they replaced it.
Did they do it?
They did it. Begrudgingly, they did it. I don't think it paid for all of it. We still have the deductible. I think we just had to pay the deductible. And our insurance company did change over. We are now covered by Liberty Mutual through Turner and Shepherd. On December 31st was the first day of those policies. So, yeah, that's in force. Hopefully we'll come through this, but a lot of water sitting frozen on our buildings right now. So.
It's gonna be cold.
Yeah, you're right.
Our building, at the detour district, there's, water dripping.
One of the weird
It's
things.
scary as we were sitting there, like watching.
One of the weird things about this type of snow, I owned an old home in Lafayette that we never had water issues with, but one winter we had this kind of snow, and it blew kind of the wrong way into a vent that it normally couldn't get into, and it sat there until it got warm enough to melt, and then it melted through a pipe and created an issue somewhere else in our house. And I called the insurance adjuster, and I'm like, I don't know if this is a problem. And they were like, probably just snow coming in that vent. It probably won't happen. And hopefully, for your building's sake, that's the deal.
In the big main room,
Oh, no.
and we had to move our tables out of the way.
It's such a pretty room. I love that area. Any other board comments? Are there any employee comments? All right. If somebody would like to make a motion to adjourn. I'll make a motion to adjourn. I'll second. Motion made by Ms. Smith to adjourn our business financial meeting, second by Ms. Bertram. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Good job, guys.
Yeah, this is something we have to go off.